Welcome. Today, we're diving into the qualification and validation of humidity monitoring systems. I'm Dr. S.K. Singh, and together we'll explore how these systems are tested and proven reliable. It's a crucial topic for ensuring accuracy and consistency in environments where humidity control matters most. Let's get started. Let's talk about why accurate humidity monitoring matters. Imagine a sensor reads 45% relative humidity, but the actual level is 60%. That gap might seem small, but it can lead to product degradation going unnoticed. In a sterile filling room, where temperature and humidity are tightly controlled, even slight errors can affect product quality, increase contamination risks, and impact HVAC efficiency. Regulations expect monitoring systems to be accurate, reliable, and continuously performing, with data integrity you can trust. Let's talk about regulatory requirements, a critical piece of the puzzle in any controlled environment. For example, humidity excursions lasting hours can happen if alarm systems aren't properly validated. Guidelines like WHO GMP and PIC SGMP demand strict environmental control, sensor calibration, and thorough documentation. Meanwhile, data integrity is front and center, with audit trails and ALCOA plus principles ensuring records are trustworthy. The latest EU GMP, Annex 1 calls for continuous monitoring, qualified systems, and proactive alarm management. And the FDA requires that all monitoring equipment be suitable, calibrated, and well-maintained. Let's break down the key components of a humidity monitoring system, using a Grade B sterile cleanroom as an example. Such a space might have a dozen humidity sensors, all feeding data into a central building management system, or BMS, with continuous monitoring happening every single minute. The system's architecture splits into hardware, like sensors, data loggers, transmitters, and control panels, and software, including the BMS itself, environmental monitoring tools, and SCADA systems. Supporting all this is the necessary infrastructure, networks, servers, and backup systems to keep everything running smoothly. Let's look at a practical example of how risk assessment works in a GMP environment. Here, a humidity sensor in a filling room is identified as critical equipment, meaning it needs redundancy to avoid failures. The table breaks down risk factors like sensor failure and alarm failure, showing their impact levels. This approach helps us focus on the most vulnerable points in critical areas, like sterile filling rooms and aseptic zones, ensuring we manage risks where they matter most. Let's walk through an example of how we qualify a sensor system. The sensor needs to operate accurately between 20 and 80% relative humidity. During operational qualification, or OQ, we test performance specifically at 30, 50, and 70% humidity. The qualification process has 4 stages. First, design qualification ensures the system meets the user's requirements. Installation qualification confirms the sensor is installed correctly, with proper wiring and network setup. Then, operational qualification challenges the system under real conditions. Finally, performance qualification proves it works reliably over time. Let's walk through an example of installation qualification, or IQ. The requirement here is that the sensor must be installed 1.5 meters above the floor. The actual measurement is 1.48 meters, close enough to pass, since it's within the acceptable tolerance. IQ verification involves several activities: checking the sensor's model and serial numbers, confirming calibration certificates, verifying the sensor's location based on airflow studies, and reviewing all relevant documentation like drawings, SOPs, and user manuals. The final step is delivering an approved IQ report. Let's walk through an example of how we check sensor accuracy during operational qualification. Here, the sensor reads 49% relative humidity, while the reference standard says 50%. The error is just -1%, well within our acceptance range of plus or -2%. This means the sensor passes. We repeat this across the full range, confirming the sensor meets the accuracy criteria we set. It's a straightforward calculation, but essential for reliable performance. Here, we see the results from our performance qualification, or PQ, testing. The specification called for relative humidity around 45%, plus or minus 5. And as you can see, all our readings stayed comfortably within that range over the full 30 days. This shows sustained performance under real operating conditions, exactly what we aim to demonstrate. The table gives a snapshot of average humidity at various points, confirming consistent control throughout the monitoring period. This trending example highlights the reliability of our system over time. Now, let's talk about verification parameters, the key checks that make sure alarms do what they're supposed to. We're looking at alarm activation, notification delivery, event recording, and audit trail generation. These aren't just boxes to tick, they're critical to operational qualification. Alarms must trigger before limits are breached. For example, if the normal range is 45 plus or minus 5%, alarms might be set at 38 and 52%. In a challenge test, humidified air raised the humidity to 53%, and the alarm sounded within 30 seconds, right on time. Let's break down how we handle uncertainty in sensor measurements. We start with the sensor's accuracy, which might be plus or minus 1.5%. Then, we add calibration uncertainty, about 0.5%. When combined, that gives us a total uncertainty around 2% relative humidity. We use a simple formula: combined error equals accuracy plus calibration uncertainty. The key is that this combined uncertainty must stay within the user requirement specifications. Regulators expect us to trace everything back to national or international standards. Calibration is recommended every 6 to 12 months, depending on risk. This example shows how close the sensor readings are to the standards. When it comes to regulatory expectations, there are several key elements we need to keep front and center. We're talking about qualified humidity monitoring systems, validated software, and calibrated sensors. Alarm challenge testing is crucial, along with strict data integrity following ALCOA plus principles. Plus, periodic review and requalification ensure ongoing compliance, all within a risk-based lifecycle management framework. On the continuous verification side, real-time monitoring, trend analysis, and statistical process control help us stay ahead. Industry 4 brings wireless sensors, cloud analytics, AI-driven predictive maintenance, and automated alerts, all designed to make compliance smarter and more proactive. To wrap up, qualifying and validating humidity monitoring systems is key to keeping environmental monitoring accurate and reliable in pharmaceutical settings. By completing installation, operational, and performance qualifications, we prove the system works as intended and meets regulatory standards. A validated system protects product quality, controls contamination, boosts efficiency, and safeguards patients. It also aligns with guidelines from GMP, WHO, FDA, and others. But it's not a one-time task. Ongoing calibration, maintenance, and reviews are vital to keep everything running smoothly over time. Thanks for joining me today. If you want to explore this topic further or have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I appreciate your time and attention, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you. This video was created with SlideSpeak. Visit SlideSpeak to turn your presentations into engaging AI-narrated videos.